Welcome back to the B Block, or second section of our new Cannabis Coast to Coast news show. I'm Alaina Pinto. Since we're releasing this show on Monday, September 9th, we're all wondering if the issue of cannabis will come up in this week's highly anticipated presidential debate with Republican Donald Trump and Democrat VP Kamala Harris. That could be our lead story in next week's show. But this month, MJ Biz Daily's Chris Roberts analyzes both presidential candidates' history with cannabis and shares his thoughts on which one he thinks will do the best for the federal reform movement and why the choice might not be the best candidate, but the less worse one. You make your own decision on that, though. Our man in the nation's capital is Andrew Behringer, and this week he takes a look at the two presidential candidates and what might the future look like no matter who wins the White House. Here he is.
I'm Andrew Behringer, and this is the Washington, D.C. report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. As we approach the 2024 presidential election, the stakes for cannabis policy have never been higher. Vice President Kamala Harris states she is for federal legalization. Now, on the other hand, former President Donald Trump's stance is characterized by what some call beneficial neglect. While his previous administration didn't hinder the creation of adult use markets, concerns still remain about the potential delays in implementing reforms if he is reelected. Now, if we look back, the Biden administration has proposed rescheduling cannabis from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3, a move that could change the cannabis industry forever. Now remember, this improvement would ease tax burdens on cannabis businesses, boost investment and research, and reflect growing public acceptance of cannabis use. Adding to the mix, the composition of Congress after the upcoming elections will play a pivotal role in shaping federal cannabis reforms. Key committee memberships will determine which bills move forward, making every Senate and House race significant for the future of cannabis legislation. Please go vote. For the first time, neither candidate oppose a threat to cannabis policy. As America heads to the polls in 2024, the future of cannabis policy hangs in the balance. Sometimes you just have to throw your hands up and say, Jarvis, close the mask. That's the Washington, D.C. report. I'm Andrew Behringer, reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
Here's a pop quiz of your cannabis knowledge. What cannabis-related product is the fastest growing sector of the industry? Beverages? No. Plain flower? That's still responsible for half the market, but not growing. It's the pre-roll phenomenon. Back in the day of the OG, our PCM founder, Jimmy Young, talks about that your choice of consumption was to roll your own, use a pipe, a water pipe, or a bong. And now, thanks to automation, more than $4.1 billion of pre-rolled joints were sold over the past 18 months, according to a new Headset report. It's because no one knows how to roll their own. That total for pre-rolls sold is now 15.9% of the total market. That report was funded by Custom Cones, who commissioned Headset to analyze the sales data over the past year and a half. Now let's head out to Oregon, where a reform program instituted in 2020 has failed terribly. Here's Marianne Cursetjee, followed by Matthew Friedlander in Washington State.
I'm Marianne from Alibi with the Oregon Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Last week, Deschutes County Sheriff made 2 arrests and seized cannabis, firearms, currency, and psilocybin from an illegal operation in Central Oregon. There were 2 properties associated with this investigation. This was a long-term investigation involving many agencies. Next, Measure 110 was passed in 2020, which decriminalized small amounts of drugs in Oregon. This experiment was modeled after Portugal's laws and was sold to voters as a way to get people the care they need and also as a social equity solution. Unfortunately, the behavior and mental health resources never materialized. Fentanyl took over the streets, overdoses soared, and hard drugs were recriminalized last week. Sadly, Oregon still ranks low on resources available, and the homeless problem continues to run rampant. Finally, some good news. The exchange is happening this coming week. It's a B2B event to bring wholesale buyers and sellers together and build community. Over 2 days, retailers will meet with growers and manufacturers to find new products and build relationships. That's the Oregon Cannabis Report. I'm Marianne from Alibi for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
Hi, my name is Matthew Friedlander, coming to you from the owner's office here at Skagit Organics with the Washington State Cannabis Report for Coast to Coast Cannabis. Today I've got some information for you regarding some open rule sets and a few cannabis events that will be coming up here in the state. So the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board has several rule sets open right now, but most notably they have a rule set open that will move the accreditation for testing labs from the LCB to the Washington Department of Agriculture. Many folks in the industry here are supportive of that effort. There are also rules open concerning the disposal of cannabis waste. Currently, we are not allowed to compost our waste or sell our waste. A new law was passed last year that would allow both of those things to happen, and the LCB is forming rules around that new situation. They also have rules open concerning flexible payment terms from retailers to producer processors. Many people were fearful that this was going to allow retailers to pay on terms. If anyone's paid attention to what happened in California with many retailers just not paying their bills and waiting long enough that the grower or the manufacturer just went out of business. This does not go that far. This only allows the retailers a single day to mail a check to the producer processor as opposed to giving that check at the time of delivery. So hopefully this rule will not lead to situations like we have seen in other states. Turning to events, the Addictions, Drug, and Alcohol Institute has their symposium happening on September 19th in Seattle. This is a group that has referred to people in the cannabis industry as predators and continues to push the narrative that high use of cannabis leads to psychosis. Here at the Cannabis Alliance, we have been encouraging people to show up to this event in person. I will be attending that event myself. It's important that people from our industry are at events like this in situations where the environment may not be super friendly to us, but it's important that we show up and are able to represent our side of the situation. Northwest Leaf will also be holding their event called Tannins and Terpenes in Seattle on September 21st. This is an event that explores the wonderful use of terpenes outside of cannabis in mocktails and drinks of that sort. Also, the Cannabis Alliance hosts several virtual events that are open to anybody. I would encourage you to visit thecannabisalliance.us and click on our calendar to look for our happy hour event. And if anyone is interested in talking with our staff at the Cannabis Alliance, we have open office hours every Monday and every Friday starting at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's what I've got for you out of Washington State. My name is Matthew, reporting for Coast to Coast Cannabis. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
There are now 5 states in the U.S. that have ballot initiatives impacting the cannabis rules, regulations, and legalization of the plant medicine. Some, like Arkansas, are expanding their already existing medical program, while the battleground state of Florida is spending millions on the Yes on 3 initiation by Smart and Safe Florida. That side of the issue got an unexpected supporter this week in former President Donald Trump. The Republican nominee who came out in favor of the initiative, needless to say, fellow Republican Governor Ron DeSantis was not pleased that the Donald decided to side with the group that he wants defeated at the polls. However, one guy who was happy with that development is our new Florida correspondent from that state, the master gardener himself, Jeff Aker.
Donald Trump finally show up and endorse Amendment 3, saying that it would be good for America, and it's not good to ruin people's life for minor possessions of cannabis in Florida. There's a couple different polls that have come out. One's running right under 60%, and the other one's coming right over 60. Got a lot of money flying around on the bill, but we need it to pass. And I will keep you updated about these Amendment 3. I need all my fellow Floridians to vote yes on Schedule 3. We need to change. It is not good to be caught with possession of cannabis in Florida, one of the strictest laws in Florida, or one of the strictest states in the country. So come back. I'm Jeff Aker, Master Gardner, with your cannabis report from Florida for Coast to Coast Cannabis News.
Our Virginia correspondent, Joe Parsons, continues to carve out a nice following in his new home state. He tracked down the hosts of a show called Coffee Talk on FM 97.5. 3WV Rocks. Here's Joe and his report this week, and maybe him live on the radio.
I'm Joe Parsons with the Virginia Cannabis Connection, and this is the Virginia Cannabis Report on Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I've got something a little special for you all this week, as this is the premiere episode of the all-new Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Our name might have changed from We Talk News, but our message in bringing the latest in cannabis news and stories from the ones who make a difference has not. A few months ago, I was invited to the beautiful city of Charlottesville to appear on the legendary radio station 97.5 3WV's cannabis-friendly podcast, Coffee Talk. They let me talk about Pro Cannabis Media, and I have to say, we've grown a little bit since then, so I'd like to think that they helped. So I couldn't think of a better way to kick off the all-new show than by telling everyone from coast to coast about Coffee Talk. I'm talking with the creators of Coffee Talk, Don, Seth, and the host, the one and only Ashley D. from 3WV. So thanks for being with me on the couch today. And the first thing, Don, how did Coffee Talk go from a concept to the show it is now?
Well, I think that, it's been 4 years now, and 4 years we've been advertising with 3WV for years and years and years. And at some point we realized that legalization was pending. People were talking about, things were changing, and there were so many questions people have. And you can come to higher education. Of course, we're known for answering questions, but then we realized not everyone can come to the store and spend an hour with us and ask all the questions. So maybe we can find a way to encourage people to, on their own free time in the evening when we're not open, be able to get these answers. And we, thought, podcast would be the answer. And we had been advertising with Ashley at 3WV for, 6 years already by then. And we talked with them, and basically they were like, yeah, this seems like a good fit for both of us. So, hence it was born.
Outstanding. Now, Seth, besides being a fun show, people can learn a lot and get real information from this broadcast. Do you think that this show helps change some of the negative views that people have about cannabis?
Well, I sure hope so. We've done a lot to try and provide factual, high quality, educated information. We've brought a lot of guests on the show, a lot of activists and cannabis, experts, people in the field, a lot of people who are business owners and legal minds and advocates, and just really well-informed people, and give them the opportunity to speak their minds, present their ideas, and share as much information as they can. So I sure hope that we've made a big difference.
Ashley, do you have any favorite guests, memorable moments?
I kind of like Seth and Dawn. I like those personal stories where it's really helped people. Scott, Linda, what was the nurse that we had in as well? I'm not great with names, but
Patients at a time.
So we had a nurse come in, and she had a lot of relevant things to put forth. We've had Lennis in here too, and she's done a lot, with government and such. But honestly, I think I like just being in the radio industry. I like our music. We bring in like musical entertainment sometimes too. So we've had like the South River Strings and some other just
Cheap whiskey.
Yeah, cheap whiskey. I like those guys too.
Charged up valve.
But that it just kind of takes it to another level. So it shows the dynamic. Like we're here for providing information, being, just I guess facts, and we present our opinions a lot, and we're not shy about saying, hey, this is what this says, but this is how we feel about it. And that's, it needs to be a conversation in society. People need to talk about it. It can't be so black and white. And so I like just having all these different dynamics and bringing in different people from walks of life. So
Well, fantastic. So I guess I definitely have my work cut out for me because I noticed that my name wasn't on any of those lists. However, there has been a lot going on lately in the news. So if you guys decide one day to put me back on your show, the news will rock. And I promise I'll be more memorable next time. That's going to do it for this week from the Virginia Cannabis Connection and reporting from Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Joe Parsons. Until next time, everyone, stay lifted.
That'll do it for the B Block this week. Cannabis Coast to Coast News continues with a visit to Atlantic City, New Jersey for the NECANN trade show down there over the past weekend. Both Andrew Behringer and Jill Goldsberry were there, and it's going to be a good story coming from them. But it's time to flash back and tee it up for cannabis at the 3rd annual THC Golf Open this past week in Uxbridge, Massachusetts. You want to see that? Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Coast to Coast News.
Yes.
It's a whole new world of weed out there, isn't it? Everyone is learning new ways to titrate, ingest, consume, imbibe, and engage with this plant medicine we call cannabis. Now, let me tell you my cannabis story. I've had 4 major surgeries in the past 23 years and suffer from osteoarthritis with a variety of metal parts in my body and one on deck. Now, thanks to those chronic pain issues, I've been a medical patient in Massachusetts for almost 10 years now. I remember my first trip to a dispensary just outside of Boston, and I told the bud tender I didn't want to smoke it anymore. So I tried edibles, then tinctures, then vaping, and now if I'm going to smoke, I only use the Weegits filtration system. What? The Weegits.com, Weegits, that's weed, W-E-E-D, G-E-T-S.com, is where you'll find the planet's coolest product that cools the smoke from everyone's favorite flower. The guy that started this was a pretty good medical device manufacturer, and he created this maze pipe that cools the smoking process from 1300 degrees Fahrenheit upon inflammation down to just 90 degrees when it reaches your mouth. That's right, 1300 down to 90. That's why this maze pipe is amazing. Now, add in the code of PCMTV and you get 15% off. So just go to Weegits.com and check out the best way to enjoy a cooler smoke with less coughing and hacking and more peace of mind.